Good day, everybody. I'm Rustika Dewi. By this occasion, I'm going to explain about the internal and external factors affecting success in language learning. There are several factors that influence the success in language learning, but in this video, I'm going to focus on several points only. For the internal factors, I'm going to focus on the language aptitude, anxiety, and self-esteem. And then for the external factors, I'm focused on the culture and access to the native speaker. Let's start. The first one is language aptitude. Language aptitude is the one of the internal factors that influence the student in learning the new language. Okay, according to Carroll, 1993, language aptitude refers to the specific talents for learning foreign or second language, which include the states of readiness and capacity for learning foreign or second language. So the language aptitude also influences the speed in learning. Carroll also proposed uh, four measurable abilities that is measured in language aptitude. The first one is phonetic coding ability, grammatical sensitivity, rote memorization ability, inductive language learning ability. So here it is. Language aptitude is different from intelligence, since phonetic coding ability and grammatical sensitivity is not cannot be measured in intelligence. So by analyzing this kind of ability in language aptitude, we can say that the student with high language aptitude will have high phonological awareness, high grammatical sensitivity, better memorization, and also are able to learn the rules of the language by observing the example. It means that the students with high language aptitude will learn the language faster. So this claim is proven by a study conducted by Granina 2014, which showed that language aptitude significantly correlated to the students' attainment in non-responded auditory, especially on structure and grammar. So it means that language aptitude can influence the success in language learning. Okay, the next factor is anxiety. So according to Brown, 1994, anxiety deals with the states of mind which connected with the feeling of uneasiness, frustration, self-doubt, and worry. So Granner, 1994, also mentioned about foreign language anxiety, which is the feeling of tension and apprehension which is associated with the second language context. So if we see here, the feeling of tension and apprehension will make the student become less active. It triggers passive behavior in receiving the knowledge. So we can say that this anxiety can be obstacle in learning the language. So if we are seeing on the other perspective, anxiety can be it can influence the language learning in positive way in terms of motivation and preparedness. For example, a student uh, will read more resources before they join the class in order to minimize their uh, anxiety in the class. But then some studies prove that anxiety mostly affects the students in negative way. So, according to a study conducted by Liu and Xiangmin 2019, it shows that the student with the higher English language anxiety tended to have lower score in English test, and also the students with lower English language anxiety tended to have better score in English. So then this is the proof that anxiety can influence the student in the process of language learning. Okay, next, still in the external factors, we are talking about self-esteem. Okay, according to Richard and Smith, 2002, self-esteem refers to the personal judgment toward their own worth and value based on the feeling of efficacy and the sense of interacting with their own environment. So Brown 2007 also proposed three types of self-esteem. The first one is general self-esteem, which is more stable and not easily changed. And then the situational self-esteem, which refers to the self-appraisal in certain kind of situation. And then the next one is past self-esteem, with which is related with the task given in particular situation. So here, the student who have high self-esteem will perform high self-confidence, which make them more active in using the language, means that they practicing more than others who have lower self-esteem. This claim is also proven by a study conducted by Asad B. Fard and Biria 2013. The result shows that the self-esteem have a positive mutual effect to boost foreign language learning. So the students will feel more motivated to learn if they have higher self-esteem. So by this claim, we can conclude that self-esteem is very influential in terms of language learning. Okay, so that's the internal factors. Now we are going to move to the external factors. The first factor is culture. We know that the relationship between language and culture is closely related. So the role of cultural context on the target language is very important in order to obtain intercultural communication. So by understanding the cultural patterns on the target language, the language learner are able to use the language properly and to avoid misunderstanding. So second language learning is not only consists of grammatical competence, communication competence, language proficiency, but it also consists of cultural understanding. Like what Ali Kazemian and Mahar 2015 said, that the communication skill can be enhanced after the establishment of familiarity with the cultural pattern on the target language. So the communication skill can improve by the exposure of the cultural patterns of the target language. And then by knowing by knowing the cultural pattern, so the language learner can obtain the linguistic influence and also pedagogical influence in terms of like semantic, pragmatic, and discourse analysis level. And also in pedagogical influence, the language learners can obtain more language materials like using idioms on their conversation. Okay, next we're talking about access to the native speaker. So we know that access to the native speaker provides more exposure to the language learner, which can make them seeing better models of how the language pronounced, combined, and used in the daily communication. So that Nagai 2013 also stated that communicating with native speakers is beneficial as means of practicing their productive and receptive skills. So like what I said before, the access to the native speaker is really important to practice their language skill. Also, Nagai 2013 proposed visitor program in the language class in order to provide more exposure for language learners to the native speaker of the target language. And then in this session, the native speakers are invited to the language class to make an interaction with the language learners. And then Akagi 2013 conducted a study about this, and then the result shows that the student shows their satisfaction on the opportunity of communicating with the target language. That's all my explanation about the internal and external factors affecting student success in language learning. So from those explanations, I can conclude that any kinds of factors inside and outside the learners can affect their success in language learning. I think that's all. Have a good day. Thank you.